What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And this one is all about the ongoing saga with Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall and whether or not this heavyweight title fight for the undisputed belt will ever happen. Dana White continues to insist that it's going to happen this year, and we are very doubtful. Now, Justin and I talked about this earlier on the show. Justin doesn't want to talk about it anymore. He's sick of it. I made a video saying that I'm over it as well. I'm bored. Even Ariel Helwani says the same thing. He at one time was saying this was his most anticipated fight of 2025, and now I feel he's changing his tune, and rightfully so, because this thing has been dragged on. Jon Jones, people have gone after him for being a quote-unquote duck. I am not part of that crowd. I actually thought that it was totally fine for Jon Jones to fight Stipe. That was the scheduled bout. But now we've come to a point where it has gotten a little bit ridiculous very ridiculous in terms of how long this is being dragged out. I definitely feel for Tom Aspinall. I'm wondering what Jon Jones is doing. That being said, I think it's important to recognize where the blame should fall in this case. I actually don't think it should fall on Jon Jones, believe it or not. As crazy as that sounds, I know that might be a hot take. And a lot of folks are like, obviously it's Jon Jones' fault. He won't commit. He won't sign the deal. The UFC has come with the money, etc. Yes and no. At the end of the day, this is a situation where Jon Jones is holding up the career of Tom Aspinall, but he's only doing that because the UFC is allowing that to happen. I mean, imagine every other champion, if they were going to go carry on like this and they were going to not sign a deal, they're going to drag their feet in terms of getting to a fight date and leave some other guy waiting in the wings. The UFC would just strip them. The UFC would strip them or set up an interim title fight, which obviously they can't do. That's already been done. And life would move on. The fighters would not have the power to be able to do this to somebody. This power only exists because the UFC is not doing anything. Now, Ariel said last week, hey, come on, Jon, this is ridiculous. This is not about you anymore. You're holding up somebody's career. And I was going to make a video responding to that, being like, well, why should Jon Jones be just doing charity for people that are trying to get a fight with him? I mean, that makes no sense. Obviously, as a fighter, you're a singular entity. You're going to be self-motivated, and you're going to do what's in your best interest always. I mean, you could say that about anybody who's not willing to fight somebody down in the ranks, but they're not going to do that unless they're compensated accordingly, or it also makes sense for them. So for Jon Jones, I don't begrudge him necessarily for doing this. I mean, it's annoying, but he's a fighter. He's got to live his life. On top of that, look at all his accomplishments. I think he's earned the right to step away at this time if he wants to, or pretty much do whatever he wants. So I was going to respond to Ariel saying, hey, man, this is not about you. You got to step up, disagreeing with that take. However, Ariel, I'm glad I didn't make that video, because Ariel has actually now gone on the exact same page as my take, which I think is the right take, which is at this point is really not some Jon Jones that we should be upset with. I think it's, and I'm not even upset with the UFC at this point. Like, I legitimately am not, I don't really care about this fight anymore. I don't care if it happens. I'm fine if it doesn't happen. I'm fine for Jon Jones going off into the sunset. I'm fine for Tom Aspinall taking over as the undisputed champ and doing his thing in the heavyweight division. I'm fine with that. But anyways, yes. So in this video, okay, Ariel Helwani kind of steps back that stance where he was upset with Jon Jones and putting the blame on him, and actually saying exactly what I was feeling, that, hey, it's not up to him. This is up to the UFC. So check this out. I think he lays it out perfectly. He starts with kind of a narrative saying, this is what we think the UFC is thinking right now. They're thinking, okay, we're just going to keep buying time, pushing it down, kicking the can down the road, and hopefully eventually we'll convince Jon Jones to sign on the dotted line and take this fight. So check this out.
So what they probably think is, all right, he'll change his mind. He'll change his mind. We'll convince him. We'll buy some time. We'll buy some time. October, November is 5-6 months away. And so they're just leaving Tom Aspinall waiting in the wings. It's not fair. And so last week I was on this show and I was saying, look, it's not about you anymore. And I still believe everything that I said. And everything that I said was true. But at this point, the UFC has a duty to its best active heavyweight fighter to do right by him. They're probably telling him, hey, this will change your life. This will be great for you. You'll get paid. You'll be famous, all this stuff. And they're right. But if that fight doesn't come to fruition and there's a chance it might not, then what was the point of all of this? And guess what? Tom Aspinall fights, for a minute every time he fights. Two to three Tom Aspinall fights against other contenders equals one Jon Jones. So he has to make that call. And he has said time and again, I don't care ultimately about the Jones fight. I just want the belt. Being the first guy to beat Jon Jones would be great. Obviously the most ideal situation, but I just want to be undisputed champion. And so now, if I'm them, I take this gift, I present it to them, and I say, okay, you know the plan? Tell us, what is the plan? And then when they tell you the plan, which is, hey, Jon right now doesn't want to fight, you have to make the call. Are you going to wait till MSG? Are you going to wait till the fall and see if he changes his mind? Or are you going to say, F that, we're fighting? But that tweet right there could change all of it.
Now, I want to talk about this because Ariel knows all this stuff. I mean, he's got sources, he's checking into things. So he's probably talking about this from a perspective or vantage point with inside information. Like, this is actually the situation that it would make sense for him to take this tweet and take it to the UFC. Because my logical brain is telling me the UFC probably knows all this, and they've been having conversations with Tom Aspinall. But the fact that Ariel's saying this, and with his close relationship with Tom Aspinall, maybe makes me think otherwise. Maybe makes me think that Tom Aspinall's confided in him and told him that he's actually being totally kept in the dark. I don't know. But anyways, if this is the case, if the UFC has not communicated anything to Tom Aspinall like Ariel's describing, actually, yeah, I agree with this. The problem is, I think the UFC, kind of just like the Stipe versus Jon Jones fight, they wanted that to be while Jon Jones held the title. That's why they didn't want to strip him of the title or give the title to Tom Aspinall and just make that fight without the title. They know that it's going to be bigger. In this fight, they know that it's going to be a bigger bang. It's going to sound cooler to a lot of the casuals in particular, champ versus champ, right? And they can make this into a big blockbuster event, or more likely into a bigger blockbuster event than otherwise. So there are, I think, the ones that are holding up the show. Of course they get stripped him. Of course, I guarantee you at this point, Tom Aspinall doesn't care about fighting Jon Jones. I guarantee you he just wants to fight. He said that in an interview, I think a few weeks ago or a month ago. I just want to fight. I'm a fighter. I want to fight. So unfortunately, I am of the opinion that I think the UFC knows all this, but they are holding out because they think this could be a lottery ticket to a very big pay-per-view buy, a big event that I think could really push them over the edge once again in this very important year where they're about to sign a licensing deal with either Netflix or another streaming service. So I think they're holding out hope, and essentially they're willing to sacrifice the time and the years and the prime time, if you will, of Tom Aspinall. And unfortunately, I think that's what's going on. So coming back to my final point, in agreement with Ariel, I don't think this is a situation where we can be blaming Jon Jones. Jon Jones is going to do Jon Jones, just like Colby Covington is going to do Colby Covington. He's going to talk all the smack to Ian Gary. He's not going to fight him. And unfortunately, a fighter is going to do what's in their best interest to some extent. I mean, others are going to be more likely to do something scummy like what Colby did than others. But in this case, why should Jon Jones do Tom Aspinall a favor and respect the fact that he's in the fight? He doesn't care. I don't think he cares at all. In fact, I don't think he even likes Tom Aspinall. So, of course, you can't expect him to step up and say, hey, I'm going to give you this challenge, just like other people gave me this challenge. Ariel did this whole argument about that last time, which I didn't think really was relevant or logical, given that, again, self-interest is what drives this sport. Whether it's right or wrong, that's what it is. And so now, if we really want movement, if we really want to see something happen, we've got to hope that the UFC, and again, I'm not even really thinking about the heavyweight division right now. I'm so over it. But hopefully, if we do want movement in the heavyweight division, I think it'd be cool for Tom's sake to just strip Jon Jones finally, let Tom continue his reign, fight Cyril Gane, fight whoever. And if Jon Jones changes his mind at some point and wants to come back and challenge for the belt, I think that'd be cool. Let him vacate and let him come back and challenge if he really wants to. Then there's no time pressure. Everything can keep moving. You can get some banger fights with Tom Aspinall versus some up-and-coming competition. The reality is, though, I don't think they're going to do that. I think what Ariel said is actually happening. They're kicking the can down the road in the hopes that they can get this locked up before the end of 2025. I also think that's why Dana White is so insistent that it's happening before 2025, because that seems to coincide with this licensing deal. So they're just fingers crossed, hoping and praying that they can make it work, that they can get Jon Jones to agree, and voila, we get a bigger price point for whatever this licensing deal will be. Those are my thoughts. That's my 2 cents. So I don't think, if all these people that are so mad at Jon Jones and tweeting to him and doing all this stuff, I think that's misdirected, in my opinion. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.